If you're a federal employee and you're wondering whether now is the right time to retire, I want to help you think through this the right way. Because one of the biggest mistakes I see is when someone finds out they're eligible for an immediate retirement under FERS and assumes that means the decision is going to be simple. Because it's not. Just because you can retire now doesn't always mean it's the best time to retire. In some cases, it can be a great move. And in other cases, it can permanently reduce your pension or cause you to give up more than you realize. That's what I want to walk you through today in this video, because this is one of those decisions that can look fine on the surface, but have a much bigger impact on the rest of your retirement than people realize. So here's what we're going to cover today. First, what immediate retirement actually means. Second, the 4 ways to qualify under FERS. Third, why one of those paths is very different than the others. And finally, how to think through whether retiring now strengthens your plan or weakens it. So let's start with the definition, because this is where the whole decision begins. Under FERS, an immediate retirement means your annuity starts within 30 days after you leave federal service. That's the technical definition. But in real life, what that really means is that you're not just stopping work, you're beginning your retirement income stream right away. And that matters because this decision can affect more than just your pension. It can affect your health care, your life insurance, whether you may qualify for the FERS supplement, and how much pressure ends up falling on your TSP. Under regular FERS, there are 4 main ways to qualify for an immediate retirement. You can retire with 62 with 5 years, 60 with 20 years, minimum retirement age with 30 years, or minimum retirement age with 10 years, which is what most people call MRA+10. Now, your minimum retirement age depends on when you were born. For many people watching this, especially if you were born in 1970 or later, your MRA is 57. So on paper, that all sounds pretty simple. There's 4 paths, 4 ways to get out, and 4 ways to retire. But this is where you need to be careful, because these 4 paths may all count as an immediate retirement, but they do not all lead to the same outcome. That's the part I really want you to understand. Here's the big mistake. People hear immediate retirement and assume all immediate retirements are basically the same, and they're not. Now, the stronger paths to retire tend to be 62 with 5, 60 with 20, and MRA with 30. Then there's MRA+10, and MRA+10 is where a lot of people need to slow down. Because yes, it gives you a way to retire earlier, but if you start your annuity before age 62 under MRA+10, your pension is generally reduced by 5% per year that you're under age 62. And that reduction is usually permanent, and that's a big deal. So let's look at an example. If you are 57, burnt out and thinking, I'm done, I qualify for my benefits, so I'm just going to go now, and you retire under MRA+10 and start the pension right away, you could be locking in roughly a 25% reduction in that pension for life. So that's a really big deal. That's one of those decisions that can change the way your retirement feels for the rest of your life. And this is why I keep coming back to the phrase, there's a big difference between being allowed to retire and being ready to retire well. That's the entire heart of this whole conversation. Now, with that said, immediate retirement can absolutely be a strong move in the right situation. Starting with your pension starts quickly. The most obvious benefit is that your FERS annuity begins right away. That creates a floor under your cash flow. And that matters because the more pension income you have coming in, the less pressure there'll be to start tapping into your TSP right out of the gate. That can be especially valuable in those first few years in retirement when markets may be down or you're still figuring out what your spending really looks like. Second, it may allow you to carry FEHB into retirement, and this is a huge one. For a lot of federal employees, FEHB is one of the most valuable retirement benefits they have. If you meet the rules, retiring on an immediate annuity may allow you to continue that coverage into retirement. And for many people, that's not just a nice perk, that's one of the biggest reasons retirement feels financially possible because the healthcare piece is covered. Third, it may allow you to continue FEGLI. So it's the same idea here. If you meet the requirements, life insurance may continue into retirement as well. And again, it's not automatic in every case, but very valuable if that's the case for your specific situation. You may also qualify for the FERS supplement. For some retirees who leave before age 62 under a qualifying immediate retirement path, the special retirement supplement may help bridge the gap until you're eligible for Social Security at 62. That could be really helpful income in the early years of retirement, but I want to emphasize the word for some here. Not everyone qualifies for the FERS supplement. Fifth is it creates clarity, and this one's underrated. Sometimes the value of an immediate retirement is not just the math, sometimes it's a relief. Sometimes it's getting out of a stressful role, stepping into a plan you understand, and finally coordinating your pension, TSP, healthcare, Social Security, and taxes from a place of certainty instead of just guessing. And there's real value in that, but again, only if the decision makes sense financially too. Now let's talk about the risks, because this is the side that people often underappreciate. MRA+10 can permanently shrink your pension. This is the big one. If you're using MRA+10 and starting the annuity before age 62, that reduction can follow you for the rest of your life. That means a decision that feels good today can become an income problem later down the road. And this is why I'd be especially careful if you're 57, 58, 59, or 60, and you're tempted to retire just because you finally can. Sometimes the freedom is worth it, and sometimes it's not. But you need to know the price tag before you decide. Retiring too early can also mean missing a better pension formula. This is another big one that often gets overlooked. Under FERS, the basic annuity formula is usually 1% of your high 3 salary times your years of service. But if you retire at 62 or older with at least 20 years, that formula can increase to 1.1%. And that may sound like a tiny difference, but over a long retirement, it can certainly add up. So if you're 61 and close to 62, or you're close to hitting 20 years, you really want to slow down before leaving, because sometimes one more year is not just one more year. Sometimes it meaningfully improves the rest of your retirement. Retiring immediately can also stop building service time and your high 3. Remember, the day you retire, the clock stops. You stop building additional service credit, you stop improving your high 3 if your salary would have continued rising, and you stop making new TSP contributions through payroll. Now, that doesn't mean retiring is a bad idea. It just means retiring now always has an opportunity cost. And the closer you are to a meaningful retirement threshold, the more that cost matters. When retiring early, the supplement is not automatic. Now, a lot of people assume, well, I'm retiring before 62, so I'll just get the supplement. That's not always the case. This is one of those areas where making an assumption can create big problems. If your retirement plan depends on that income, and it turns out you're not eligible, now you've got a gap to fill. That's why this stuff is so important and needs to be checked, and not just based on a guess. FEHB and FEGLI do not just automatically carry over into retirement. This is another common mistake. For FEHB and FEGLI, there are coverage history requirements. In general, you need to be retiring on an immediate annuity, and there are usually 5-year coverage requirements tied to both. So if keeping FEHB or FEGLI is part of what makes retirement feel safe to you, that's something you want to verify before you retire, definitely not after. So let's talk about the short-term versus long-term impact, because this is probably the simplest way to think about immediate retirement. In the short term, retiring now can feel like a huge relief. You get the freedom, your pension may begin quickly, you may preserve important benefits, and you may reduce the emotional wear and tear of staying in a role you no longer want to be in. But here's the catch. Long-term is where the trade-offs really show up. Depending on how you retire, you may be locking in a smaller pension, giving up additional service credit, missing a better pension formula, and putting more pressure on your TSP to do the heavy lifting later. That's why this decision can feel good in the short term, but still weaken your retirement over the long term if you're not careful. Okay, now that we've talked about the risks, when does immediate retirement actually make sense? Immediate retirement is not a bad move for the right situation. In fact, it can be a very strong move when a few things start to line up. First, you're qualifying under one of the stronger paths like 60 with 20, MRA with 30, or 62 with 5. Second, you've already confirmed you can carry FEHB into retirement, and FEGLI too if that's relevant to your situation. Third, your retirement cash flow actually works. Between your pension, TSP, other savings, and future Social Security, the plan supports the next phase of life without forcing too much pressure onto your investments. And fourth, retiring now tends to make more sense when there isn't a clear financial advantage to waiting a little longer. And when those pieces are in place, immediate retirement can be a very strong move because you're not just leaving work, you're stepping into a retirement from a position of clarity and strength. Now, there are definitely situations where I would slow someone down before they retire. One of the biggest is when they're very close to a better outcome by waiting a little longer. If you're close to age 62, close to 20 years of service, or close to avoiding a MRA+10 reduction, retiring right now may not be the smartest move. Sometimes a little more time can meaningfully improve the outcome. I'd also be cautious if someone says, I'm at my MRA, I've got 10 years, and I'm just ready to be done. Because if that means taking MRA+10 and permanently reducing your pension, that's a decision I'd want to think through very carefully. Same thing if someone says, I'm 61, but I don't want to wait another year. That extra year may matter more than they realize. I'd also slow things down if someone is assuming they'll get the supplement without confirming it, or if FEHB continuation is critical to their plan, but they haven't verified the rules. And if someone is emotionally ready to retire, but financially still needs future salary, TSP contributions, or pension growth, then we need to be honest. They may be ready to leave work, but not fully ready to retire well. So if you're watching this and trying to figure out whether immediate retirement actually makes sense for you, this is where I'd slow down and really pressure test the decision. Because a lot of retirement mistakes happen when people move too quickly and don't ask the right questions first. And honestly, if you answer the next 5 questions clearly, you'll be in a much better position to know whether retiring now is actually a smart move or whether waiting a little longer could put you in a stronger position. If I were sitting down with someone trying to think through an immediate retirement under FERS, these are the 5 questions I'd want us to answer first. First, which immediate retirement path are you actually using? Because there's a big difference between 60 with 20, MRA with 30, and MRA+10. On paper, they all count as an immediate retirement, but in real life, they can lead to very different outcomes. Second, are you reducing your pension by retiring now? This is especially important if MRA+10 is involved, because if you're taking a permanent reduction just to leave earlier, you want to be very clear in what that decision is going to cost you over time. Third, are you close to a meaningfully better outcome if you wait? For example, are you close to age 62, close to 20 years of service? Are you close to getting a better formula or avoiding a reduction? Because sometimes waiting a little longer can improve the outcome more than people expect. Fourth, have you actually confirmed your FEHB, FEGLI, and supplement eligibility? Not assuming everything is in place, actually confirming it. Because those are the kinds of details that can look fine on the surface and then create a problem later if they weren't fully understood up front. And fifth, if you retire now, how much pressure does that put on your TSP? Because that's often where the consequences show up. If the pension is smaller than expected, or if the income plan is thinner than it looked on paper, the TSP often ends up having to do more of the heavy lifting. Those 5 questions by themselves can help you avoid making a retirement decision that feels good today, but weakens your plan over time. And really, that's what this whole decision comes down to, right? Not just whether you're technically allowed to retire, but whether retiring now actually puts you in a stronger position. That's the part that matters most. So again, the real question is not just, can I retire now? The better question is, if I retire now, what does that do to the rest of my plan? Because the goal is not just to retire as soon as you can, it's to retire in a way that actually makes sense for the rest of your life. So if you're a federal employee and you're within a few years of retirement, this is exactly the kind of decision that deserves a careful second look. If you want help thinking through your first pension, your TSP, FEHB, Social Security, and whether retiring now actually makes sense, there's a link below where you can schedule a call with me, and I'd be happy to chat and see if we'd be a fit to help. And if this video did help you, subscribe to the channel because I make videos every week to help federal employees retire with more clarity. Thanks everyone. I'll see you in the next video.